My name is Julia Wedman, and I am the principal Baroque leader of Symphony Nova Scotia. I'm a violinist, and I specialize in Baroque music. And in contrast to later music, the director of Baroque orchestras usually play an instrument like violin or harpsichord or even the oboe. The orchestra knows how to play together and how to make expression and shape phrases together from watching, listening, playing with me, and connecting with my body language and my sound. The role of the conductor only came into fashion in the early 19th century, around 100 years after much of the music on this week's concerts were written. The concerts this week feature music of one of my favorite composers, Georg Frideric Handel, who was an organ and harpsichord player. One of his most beloved pieces is the music for the Royal Fireworks, which was written in 1749. Now, I've been thinking a lot this week about the question, why did Handel's music survive all of these centuries? And why is this particular piece of music so popular? Unlike other composers, Handel's music has never really gone out of fashion. People have always been playing it. One of my favorite books about early music is called The Pathetic Musician, written by Bruce Haynes and Jeffrey Burgess. In it, they talk about how 17th and 18th century music is different from later music because so much of it was written for patrons. It was written for the courts, for royalty, it was written for the church. And composers were writing music to be shared and understood. Music was written to mean something, not just to be beautiful. The composer Francesco Gimignani writes in the very first sentence of his treatise on violin playing from 1751, "The intention of music is not only to please the ear, but to express sentiments, strike the imagination, affect the mind, and command the passions." At this time, especially in Germany, there was a concept known as the doctrine of affections. This was the idea that music had the power to move people's emotions in such a strong way that they could in fact be made sick. It is the reason that you will see at the end of all of the big exciting pieces, like Handel's Fireworks, for example, the last piece is a beautiful, sweet minuet, something neutral and not too exciting. This is because Baroque composers didn't want to send you out into the world feeling all crazy and hyped up from too much emotion. They wanted to return you to a more neutral state. When Gimignani says the intention of music is to express feelings, strike imaginations, affect the mind, and command people's emotions, he really means it. Our job as Baroque musicians is to affect how you feel. One of the best compliments I ever get is when people say to me after concerts, "You know, Julie, I was having such a bad day today, and I almost didn't even come to your concert. But then you all started playing, and all of the bad feelings from the day just melted away, and now I feel so much better." And on those days, I know I've done my job well. This is why I think Handel's music has never lost its popularity. He is a genius at making us feel something. And I think that is the reason that we love the music for the Royal Fireworks. It makes us feel a lot of emotions, but the big one to me is the emotion of awe and wonder. Its grandness and majesty makes us feel that we are in the presence of something bigger than ourselves. And this is a feeling we never tire of, like looking up into the sky on a clear night full of stars, or rounding a corner on a highway coming upon an unexpectedly incredible view of the ocean. This feeling lifts us, takes us out of our regular world into something beyond ourselves. Handel's colleague Aaron Hill, who was the stage director for Handel's opera Rinaldo, the first piece that we'll play on our program, wrote a fascinating book on acting techniques. And in it, he teaches us how to feel the energy of specific emotions and how to compose your body into each feeling. So I'm going to show you a couple of little exercises that we do that are based on Aaron Hill's book. So please stand up with me. I'm going to teach you an exercise I devised for my students based on Aaron Hill's instructions for actors. And he describes joy in such a beautiful way. Joy is pride possessed of triumph. It is a warm and conscious expansion of the heart, indulging a sense of present pleasure and comparing it with past affliction. It cannot, therefore, be expressed without vivacity in look, air, and accent. So how do we embody joy? How do we bring the energy of joy into our bodies as musicians and as actors, and make it so that you will understand what we're trying to do? So one of the things that we do is work with the energy of the body. So I want you to stand up with me, just kind of shake things out, any stiffness that you might be feeling. Roll your shoulders around, get the hips moving, the legs, just shake everything out. Okay, now that you're in sort of a neutral state, what we want to do is place your feet really strongly, firmly on the ground. Feel really grounded. And then I want you to feel the energy coming up through the floor, all the way up into your legs, and feel energy rising up through your body, through the middle. Let it expand the heart, as Aaron Hill says, shoulders back, relax the back of the neck, shoulders down. Now unfurl the brow, put a smile on your face and a twinkle in your eye, and try to move your arms. If you're like me, your arms feel very loose and free, and they're able to move. Now, for sadness, we do the exact opposite. So instead of bringing energy up, we let the energy drain from the body. So you can breathe out, feel all of the energy and life draining out through the body. Instead of bringing the head up, we slouch the shoulders and droop the head. We make a frown with our forehead and with our mouth, and we droop the shoulders and the body and slump down, draining all the energy out. Now try to move your arms. And if you're like me, your arms suddenly feel a lot heavier. But we don't want to stay in sadness, so let's do a nice big breath in, bring the energy back up into the body. Chest back, neck, eyebrows, smile, and twinkle. And we're back to moving. So those are the two basic exercises that we learn how to do. And you'll see me do this on stage. With one breath in, I'll bring the orchestra in, and we'll all know that this movement, or this part that we're about to play, is going to be full of life and joy. Or I will take a breath out, let the energy drain, and give a cue like this that lets the orchestra know that the affect, the character of the music is more sad or more mournful, or something like that. Depressed, tired, things like that. And then I want to show you one more affect, because it's a lot of fun, and because we're talking so much about awe and wonder in this. And this is a very easy one, but it's it's really funny. So you want to put your body in sort of the affect that you had for sadness. So you let all the energy drain out of the body. Let the arms hang down at the sides. And instead, you look up, open your eyes really wide, and make your mouth into an O. And that's wonder. And that is the feeling that we get when we walk into an incredible cathedral. We walk in, and we look up, and time stops for a second. And I think this is what Handel is trying to get from an audience, this feeling of, when the trumpets come in. I think that when Handel wants to evoke in his audience a feeling of wonder, he will often use trumpets. In one of the most exciting arias in the Messiah, The text is, "The trumpet shall sound and the dead shall be raised." What stronger feeling of awe could there be than witnessing people being raised from the dead? All of my favorite parts of Messiah also have trumpets, the glory to God, the Amen at the end. When the trumpets come in, our spirits are lifted to a higher level. Handel's fireworks music created quite a stir when it was written. He wrote it to celebrate the end of the War of the Austrian Succession in 1748. An audience of over 12,000 people caused a 3-hour traffic jam of carriages on the London Bridge, the only route to the area south of the river where it was being performed. King George II insisted there be no violins in the first outdoor performance, so originally it had 24 oboes, 12 bassoons, a contrabassoon, 9 trumpets, 9 horns, 3 pairs of kettle drums, and side drums, which were given only the direction to play ad libitum, whatever they wanted. The fireworks display itself also created a lot of drama. Rainy weather caused many misfires, and in the middle of the show, a pavilion caught fire. A woman's clothes were set on fire by a stray rocket, and other fireworks burned 2 soldiers and blinded a 3rd. Yet another soldier had his hand blown off during an earlier rehearsal for the 101 cannons, which were also used during the event. By all accounts, this was a very dangerous concert, and I have to say, it is not one of the historical events I wish I had been there to see. We will be playing a later version of the fireworks suite, where Handel added string parts, and we will only have 3 oboes. 24 might be a little too loud for an indoor concert. Now, I love the grandness and majesty of this music, but it is also full of life and joy. The second last movement is entitled La Réjouissance, Rejoicing. It sounds like this. You may recognize it, even if you don't remember when you heard it. It is one of those Handelian melodies that sticks in your ears. We call it an earworm. I bet many of you will be humming this tune to yourself days after you come to our concert. I know I will. Because this program is all about fireworks, I had the idea to add some pieces that will show off our wonderful soprano Mireille Asselin's vocal fireworks. I have worked with Mireille in many operas in Toronto, and what I love about her is that she can come across as very sweet. She has an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, light voice, but she can also be fiery, and I kind of love it the most when she gets really angry. We programmed the fiery tempesta from Handel's opera Giulio Cesare, and you will also love the display of coloratura in Myself I Shall Adore from Semele. Handel was an incredible composer for singers. He knew just how to show off the human voice in the most beautiful, thrilling ways. You'll see this thrilling writing in these 2 arias, but his writing can also be so touching, like in the arias Where'er You Walk from Semele and the Affanni pensieri from Ottone. You know, the biggest problem when programming Handel arias is that there are way too many good ones to choose from. Anyone who has heard Handel's Messiah can attest to this. I've performed the Messiah every year since I can remember, and I'm still surprised by how much I love every single aria, and in fact, every piece of the Messiah. It's all so great. Now, because we have trumpets on this concert for the fireworks music, I also added the uplifting Let the Bright Seraphim for Mireille, which features a gorgeous trumpet solo, and a Telemann concerto for 3 trumpets, timpani, and strings. I think you're going to love the trumpet concerto as much as I do. There is something that is so exciting about having trumpets and timpani on stage with us. When Handel was about 17 years old, he was working as an organist in Halle, Germany, not far from Leipzig, where he became friends with Georg Telemann. Telemann was studying law in Leipzig and was assisting Bach's predecessor at St. Thomas's Church, Johann Kuhnau. Telemann recounted this story in his autobiography. The writing of the excellent Johann Kuhnau served as a model for me in fugue and counterpoint. But in fashioning melodic movements and examining them, Handel and I were constantly occupied, frequently visiting each other as well as writing letters. Handel never ended up meeting Bach because a few years later he moved to Italy to study and compose, and then after that worked in London, England for the rest of his life. But he always kept in contact with Telemann. Around the time Handel was in Italy, there was a special composer living in Bologna waiting to write her own opera. Her name was Maria Margherita Grimani. We don't know very much about her, just that she was married to a law professor at the University of Bologna, which is not far from Florence, where Handel's first Italian opera, Rodrigo, was premiered in 1707. It is not inconceivable that Grimani and Handel might have met at some point. In any case, Grimani became the first female composer to have an opera performed in the court theater in Vienna, a big honor. Grimani's opera Pallade e Marte was also written for royalty, in this case Charles VI, the Holy Roman Emperor, to celebrate his Saints' Day. We have so few female Baroque composers, so it is always wonderful to discover music that has been forgotten about. And this is a wonderful little aria full of courage and strength. One of the other pieces I want to bring your attention to is the one that reminds me the most of Fireworks for the Strings. And this is the flashy and virtuosic Hasse Symphony in G minor. Hasse might not be a household name now, but in his day, he was one of the most famous opera composers in Europe. Like Handel, he had German roots, but he moved to Italy as a young man and became very successful in Naples. He married the famous soprano Faustina Bordoni, who premiered many of Handel's operas in London, like Alessandro and Tolomeo. Hasse ended up getting a coveted position as an opera composer at the Dresden court, which at the time had the best court orchestra in all of Europe, and all of the best composers wanted to work there. This sinfonia also has a very beautiful and touching slow movement, very much like an opera aria. Now, in a concert with so much music that is strong, exciting, virtuosic, and outgoing, I always long for something that is the complete opposite. So in the second half of the program, I added maybe my most favorite piece of Handel's, which I think might have been his favorite piece too. Now, Handel was known to recycle his own music at times, but this Chaconne from Terpsicore is in seriously everything. It is part of a trio sonata, it is part of a concerto grosso, it is in several operas. He writes it in G major and in A major. It's called a Passacaglia, it's called a Chaconne, there's a choir in it. Like Handel, this is a piece that I always find every excuse to program. The form of it is a set of variations based on a little four-bar harmonic structure. You'll hear the bass line, the cellos, and the bass play this many times in a row. It is truly incredible what Handel can make out of something so simple. This is a kind of chord structure that we might hear in pop music, simple yet memorable. In this, Handel shows that not only is he a genius at the Italian style, but he is equally comfortable in French style. Every great French opera has a gorgeous chaconne, and this one is really up there with the best. It is mesmerizing, fascinating, intimate, and the perfect complement to the virtuosity and energy of the grandeur of the music for the royal fireworks. The feeling of this chaconne is that of sitting on your blanket with your picnic out and your loved ones in Green Park, enjoying a beautiful evening, waiting for the fireworks to begin. Thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to share this program with you. See you soon.